All right, guys, welcome to our team meeting, our One Tribe team meeting for Tuesday, August 8th. So tonight we have a special meeting. We are going to be hearing from some of our fellow One Tribe coaches, and I'm really excited for this because all these coaches have very different lives. I think today they kind of figured out some similarities they had among us besides just being coaches, but they all have very different lives, very different jobs, very different backgrounds, and we're gonna get to hear how they all fit coaching into their lives, and it looks different for each of them, which I think is an awesome perspective to see. I think it's awesome for us on any part of our coaching career to get ideas of how we can make the most of our time that we do have, and hear how other people are doing things. So before we get started, I just wanted to do a couple quick announcements. It's the second week of Team Cup. Woo! I hope everyone's teams are doing well. That's like really hard for me to say right now. But it's the second week of Team Cup. We have our live happy hour this Thursday at 9 p.m. So make sure you are inviting to that. And then next week, I wanted to give you guys a little sneaker into that call. We are going to be having a guest speaker on a lock on our call next week, and I'm really excited for everything she's going to bring. So we are really just continuing to try to come up with new ideas for our team calls and bring you guys the goods. So I hope you guys enjoy tonight. I want to introduce our three coaches on. Lauren Hager had to back out for tonight, but we do have Bethany, Erin, and Colleen on, and I'm so excited to have them chat with you guys. So if you three ladies will unmute yourselves, what I'm going to do is I will ask questions, and each of them will, go down the line and answer the question, and then we'll move on. And at the end, we will have time for a Q&A if anyone wants to ask them questions or me questions or anything like that. So Bethany, you are the first one I see on my screen. Why don't you start off by telling us a little bit about yourself, how long you've been a coach, what your full-time job is.
Okay. So my name is Bethany. I have been a coach for 3 years. Actually, I just hit my 3-year mark. So I started in July 3 years ago, and I still work full-time outside of Beachbody. I am a case manager for Humana full-time. I work from home, but I do work full-time outside of Beachbody. And I've only had this job for 2 of the 3 years that I've been a coach. Before that, I worked in community mental health. So my background is in mental health counseling, and that's what I was doing prior to that. So that is me. I live in Louisville, Kentucky, married, have 2 fur babies that are amazing. And yeah, that's about it.
That's my twinsy, our mental health and fur baby mamas.
Yes.
Colleen, will you tell everyone a little bit about how long you've been a coach and what you do full time?
Yep. So I'm Colleen. I am a full-time stay-at-home mom. I have 3 little boys, 8, 5, and 2. And I'm married to a physician, and we just finished all of his medical training. So our life has been very transitional. I used to work, but now I stay at home. I've been doing that for about 6 years, and I've been coaching this September will be 2 years.
Awesome. Erin, tell us a little bit about how long you've been a coach and what you do full time.
Hi guys, I have been a coach for about 3 years now, and I still work full-time. I supervise sexually violent predators for the state, which is basically a glorified babysitter for the worst people around. And I am a full-time mom to 3 busy boys, one of which should be sleeping. Sorry about that.
That's my bugaboo. So Erin's my sister-in-law, so that's my nephew. And Erin and Karen, the boys are actually kind of similar in ages, so it's interesting. I didn't know that, or I didn't realize that before I asked both of you guys to be on here tonight. So the next question is, what does a day in the life of you look like? So Bethany, what does a day in the life of Bethany look like?
Okay, so like I said, I work full time. I do work from home, which is helpful because that means I don't have to get ready ever. But I work 9 to 5:30, but my day starts at 4:45. I wake up at 4:45 every morning, just because that is like my me time. And if I don't start my day with like just some time for myself, I go nuts. Like it throws my entire day off, and it's just bad. So I start at 4:45, wake up, I get in my Beachbody work, which I think we're going to touch on more in a little bit, but I do that, and then I do my workout first thing in the morning, and I just kind of chill and relax until I have to work at 9, and then I get off work at 5:30, and I leave my evenings pretty free as far as Beachbody work goes. I like to have my evenings free so I can be flexible if we want to go out to dinner or hang out with friends or anything like that. So typically I'm done with everything Beachbody and real job at 5:30.
Okay, so you work from home. Does that mean that you can work Beachbody all day, every day, and respond to questions and do all of that at the same time? Like, how does that work?
I wish. I work from home, but it is very micromanaged. I can't leave my office. I'm telephonic, so I'm on the phone all day. And it's even set up to where if my computer idles for 10 minutes, if I don't move my mouse for 10 minutes, it sends my boss a message that I'm like not at my desk. So it's very, very micromanaged, and it is from home, but no, I cannot really do much during the day.
Gotcha. Okay. So not just easy peasy. I can have fun and work Beachbody all day.
Right.
Awesome. Thank you. Colleen, what does a day in the life of a mama Colleen of 3 boys look like?
Well, I'm still wearing my workout clothes, if that gives you an idea. And I was like, maybe I should get dressed tonight. This is my life. So I thought I should just play my life for you guys. So I wake up at 5 o'clock every morning, and my husband and I work out together. So we get our workout out of the way. Our life is sort of ever changing, but the one constant I've always had is actually getting up and doing my workout every morning. That has been consistent since I started my journey 2 years ago. Then chaos begins depending on when people begin to wake up. If that makes sense. So the rest of my day is very much littered with little things here and there. The biggest thing that I think that I do that's a little bit more consistent besides my workout and drinking my shake every afternoon is that I listen to my PD. Ever since I found Audible, I have grown in personal development time. It used to really be like 10 minutes. Now it's like a half an hour because I do it when in the car or I do it while I'm folding laundry. And that's a good like 30 minutes every day. That's something that I can always fit in when I'm doing stuff. The rest of it is very much littered throughout my day unless I snag a little bit of nap time or put my boys in front of the TV. Especially now with all 3 of them being home for summertime, there's not a whole lot of very consistent time. It's basically littered throughout the day. Whatever it is, responding, creating a form, whatever it is, it's a snag here, there, go do something else, snag work here, go do something else. So littered throughout the day is definitely very much my day. But I try to be off after dinner time, except for team call nights.
Gotcha. So you work in the little pockets of time that you have throughout the day.
Absolutely.
Awesome. All right, Erin, what does the day in the life of Erin look like?
So like these girls, I get up early. I am up generally around 5 a.m. and I leave for work by 6. I drop the kids off. I commute an hour and a half to my office and I work 8 hours. I do have the luxury of having my own office, and at lunchtime, I shut my door and get my workout done. So I think my staff thinks that I'm very antisocial, but my days are jam-packed, so I fit it in where I can. And every now and then I'll get up earlier and we'll eat lunch with everybody and socialize with them, but my priority is always my workout. Then I've got an hour and a half commute home, except for I don't go home, I go to football practice. Both my kids are playing football this year, but they also play basketball and baseball. So year round, we have sports going on. Right now it's football season, and my husband is the head coach of one of the teams, and I am the team mom. So we are constantly driving kids to and from practice, collecting paperwork, all kinds of stuff right now. Football practice runs until about 8:30. So literally I was in my garage when I hopped on this call, just getting home from football practice. So I'm generally gone from about 6 a.m. until 9 p.m. most nights.
All right. And so when you're at work, are you able to do a lot of Beachbody? I know you said you can get your workouts in, but when you're there, what are you able to do Beachbody wise?
When I am there, I will occasionally post in our team page. I can hop on Facebook on my phone. I generally am not engaging in a whole lot of new stuff. I'm not starting new conversations or connecting with new people, just because whenever I do that, I want to put in some effort. But I could follow up with like a brief text or a brief message at work.
Gotcha.
And I do a lot of it to and from work with the talk to text or like voice memos. I follow up with my team in the car, and I do my personal development also through Audible in the car.
Awesome. Okay, so Bethany, you touched on a little bit that you more so get a power hour in every morning. What does that look like? Like, what are the tasks that typically are you accomplishing in the morning? And then is that the majority of your work? Are you still kind of like Colleen and Aaron, like kind of working in pockets throughout the day? Or when does your Beachbody work occur?
So yeah, I wake up at 4:45, and that's when I set aside from 4:45 to 6 to work on Beachbody stuff. And then at 6 o'clock, I get my workout in. So during that time, that's when I start with my personal development. I typically read for about 10 or 15 minutes, and then also throughout the day, I will listen to personal development, whether it be a podcast, YouTube, whatever, Audible, like the other girls said. That's a great way. If you have a commute, I work from home, but if you have a commute, like make that your personal development time. Like leave the radio off, listen to Audible or whatever. Like that's a good, however long your commute is, and that knocks out that portion of what you need to do. So I definitely recommend that. That's a great idea. But yeah, I start with my personal development, and then after that, I have notes. That's what I'm looking at. I'm not like trying not to make eye contact, but I then do the rest of my Beachbody work. So I send my any messages, follow-ups from the day before, anything like that. I do during that hour. I've kind of touched on it before in our team pages, but I always add new people on Facebook or wherever. And then the next day I follow up with them. So I have my list of people that I'm following up with, and I do that first thing in the morning. I use TeamZ personally. I know it's kind of either people love it or hate it. I am obsessed with it, and I don't know how I worked Beachbody before TeamZ while I work full time. But that just makes my life super easy. So I just go down that list and really just, that's when I start all my conversations. And then throughout the day, as I get those pockets of time, I'm taking my phone to the bathroom with me. That may be TMI, but that's where I'm like answering messages or making posts or, whatever in those little pockets of time. During my lunch break, that's where I'm following up with people. So I try and start all my conversations early in the morning where, first of all, those people aren't even awake yet, most likely, and they're not going to respond right away, so that when they do, it's easier to kind of carry on the conversation throughout the day. So that's what I do. And then, of course, at 6 o'clock, that's when I get my workout in, which I think the main thing we need to stress is that doing this full time, like all you really need to focus on is doing the vital behaviors. Like that's really all you have to do. So if you make those things a priority. If you're getting your workout in, and do a program start to finish. Don't like dabble here and there. You're not going to attract people that way. People need to know what you're doing and how you're fitting that into your schedule. So I think that's really important. But just making time for those 4 things first thing in the morning and getting it out of the way, and then just kind of doing a little bit here and there throughout the day is how I make it work.
Okay, so this question you weren't prepared for, but I'm going to throw it at you anyway.
Oh, great.
How much time would you say you on average spend on Beachbody each day, like working the business?
Yeah, I mean, it's hard to say. I have that hour in the morning that I completely devote to it. And then, I mean, throughout the day, maybe a total of 30 minutes, maybe. But before I had this job, it was literally just, honestly, an hour on a good day, but maybe 30 minutes when I just had another job where I just couldn't do anything else. But right now, I would say at least an hour and a half, probably 2 hours.
Awesome. Colleen, so you kind of touched on this. Do you get a power hour in? So I know you said you start your day early and you get your workout in, and then you work in pockets of time. Is there any kind of devoted time that you make sure you sit down and get, and what does that time look like?
So there used to be, and I touched on this earlier when we chatted, I was a lot more productive when I had a bit more dedicated time. Oftentimes it was never an hour, but it was 2 good 30-minute or 3 good 30-minute sessions when we were living in California. That I was a lot more focused and dedicated. And I've moved across the country in the last year. A lot of stuff has changed. And now all of my boys are going to be going to school. So I am actually working into a transition of going back to a more dedicated power hour, and doing it every day at the same time and getting a schedule with it. I think for me that works really, really well. And in and out throughout the day tends to lead to chaos because I live in constant chaos and it sort of swirls around. And I don't love that feeling. I like the feeling where I get down and get my checklist and I start checking things off. And I'm more strategic about it. And that was a word I used to use when I very first started coaching with Jess, is I want this to be strategic on what I'm doing. And I lost a little bit of that this last year. And I'm kind of excited to get back to that strategic mode because I think it propels me and I do better on the business side when I'm more strategic. So I'm actually headed back to the power hour and I'm really, really glad that that's going to be my future.
Well, and I like that word strategic, and it always makes me think of just working smarter, not harder. So if you only have 30 minutes a day, if you only have an hour a day, if you only have 15 minutes a day, making sure that you are following a list and getting as much as you can done versus, oh, let me scroll Facebook for 10 minutes and see if someone said that they want to start their fitness journey. You know what I mean? Like it's very being more purposeful in your time. And I mean, it's respecting yourself by respecting your own time. So that makes total sense.
Oh yeah, absolutely. And Facebook Eradicator changed my life because it's so naturally you wanted to do those things like do the Facebook scroll. And I'm strategic about it now. That's on. And my friends list or my dream people that I want to work with, they don't show up. I have to go through that. And that's like an item on my checklist that I do. So it's again, more strategic, more purposeful.
Colleen, Maria just asked about Facebook Eradicator. Can you explain that a little bit to her?
So the new Facebook News Eradicator is like, I don't know if handle is the right word. It's something that you can put in, and I believe it works in Google. In Chrome, where you can look it up and it's an extension. That's the word, extension. And so when I log into Facebook right now, it actually removes my entire news feed and puts a quote, like a motivational quote, which is often, sometimes I snag it and I'm like, I'm going to post that. That's a good one today. But it removes that. You can get to your friends list, but what I did instead of using the Facebook news feed, which I don't have anymore because I installed this extension. I created Facebook friend lists, and there are lists like dream challengers, dream coaches, potential coaches. And then I also have like my coaches in my downline. So making sure that I'm still, you know, connecting with things that they might be posting throughout their life. I check in with that one less frequently than like the dream people that I know I absolutely want to help. And I go through and I just click on those lists and just check in with those people instead of just scrolling mindlessly through Facebook.
Awesome.
Did that answer that?
Yes, thank you. Erin, so I know you work in kind of pockets throughout the time. There are some times that you get to work from home and you can have kind of a more dedicated power hour, I would say. But what are the things that you are getting done when you have time to sit down and work? Like, what are your musts to get done?
On the days that I work from home, I'm so much more productive because I still get up at the same time, and I use the time before the kids get up, because when I work from home, I take my kids to the babysitter so that I can still be productive. So I still get up at the same time, and I am making new connections, reaching out to my coaches, reaching out to my challengers on a more personal level than what I can do and and honestly, on the days that I work from home, I don't get in my personal development because it's all through Audible unless we have team calls or something like that. So it's kind of a trade-off. I feel like I do a lot more personal development on the days that I go to the office, and on the days that I'm home, I'm a lot more productive in my groups, in my pages. From home, it's easier for me to create graphics for groups or cover photos, anything that I might need for what we've got coming up. And then, sorry. And then in the car, it's a lot of just voice to text and Audible when I have those.
So on an average day, the same question I asked Bethany, how much time would you say that you probably devote to like working? Like, I mean, even like all those kind of little pockets added up, how much time do you think you put into it each day?
The days that I commute, I mean, my commute is an hour. My commute is an hour and a half. So I would say probably a good hour each way is devoted to either checking in with my coaches, checking with my challengers, or doing personal development. And then maybe another 30 minutes during the day. So 2.5 hours on my commuting days, and the days that I'm home, it's generally the hour in the morning and maybe another hour during the day. So maybe 2 hours.
Gotcha. Okay. So Bethany, if you were having an absolute crazy day and you knew that there was just one thing that you were going to be able to get done that day and that's all it was going to be, what are you going to make an absolute non-negotiable you are going to get done?
My workout is always going to be number one. If I'm not working on me, none of this is going to work anyway. So definitely I will get my workout in no matter what.
Colleen, same question.
Same answer. Always my workout.
And Erin?
I would say mine's probably the same answer as well, just based on the fact that I ignore my coworkers at lunch and get my workout in.
Gotcha. Okay, so last question I have for everybody. Bethany, have you always had it together? Like, did this just come naturally that the day you signed up, you had these systems in place and this plan, or has it been a process?
I mean, obviously, I've always had it together. Clearly. No. So, like I said, I've been a coach for 3 years. But when I started, I was really just a discount coach. Like, I really just wanted the discount. I never put a lot of effort into the coaching thing. I just kind of shared my journey, and it just kind of naturally progressed. And I think my biggest tip would be to not stress about things that don't really matter at the end of the day. When you're working full time and your life is crazy and you've got 50 kids running around and all this stuff going on, like, don't worry about whether or not your cover photo is like super gorgeous, or you know what I mean? Like, things like that at the end of the day aren't going to grow your business as much as some other things that you should focus on. So really just focus on those 4 vital behaviors. That's it. Like, if that's all the time you have in the day, then just get those done. And if you've got an extra 20 minutes here and there, then focus on some of those other things. So that's kind of how I've worked my business. And, I do still work full time. So my business isn't growing as fast as other people's, but that's totally okay. Like, that doesn't matter. Don't compare yourself to people who are doing this full time. And that took me a while to kind of understand too. Like, I'm just not in a place in my life where I can, just come home and drop everything after working all day and work on Beachbody for 6 hours. That's just not where I'm at in my life. So my business is going to grow a little more slowly than someone else, and that's totally fine. So I actually have a quote here on this little thing that you can't read. But I got it from Newsfeed Eradicator, actually. This showed up on there one day, so I wrote it down. But it just says, doing just a little bit during the time we have available puts you that much further ahead than if you took no action at all. So I have that sitting on my desk. Just, those pockets of time that you have, do what you can. Don't beat yourself up if you're not 10-star diamond or whatever, and just kind of prioritizing those vital behaviors.
Well, in speaking from my personal, experience, Lacey, Jess, and I, we haven't always been full-time. And I think it's easy to look at the time we can put in now to it and be like, why I can't do all that they're doing. And that's fine, because we've all had to start somewhere, just like, Bethany is saying. I used to commute just like Erin and I listened to national wake-up calls on the way there, podcasts whenever I could. I was doing voice memos. I was like the queen of voice memos when I was driving. And I just had to work in those pockets of time too. Like, it's, you kind of bloom where you blossom, or what's it called? Bloom where you're planted, whatever, and make the most out of your situation. So thank you. Colleen, same question. Like, I think you touched on this before, just kind of being a process during the different seasons, and you told me about that earlier of your life. So can you just explain that a little bit more?
I think, yeah. So what I heard this really great quote, and it just really resonated with me. And it said, not one flower blooms in all seasons. And it was said in a Beachbody page, and a coach page. And it just reminded me that, like, every season, we can't always all be in bloom, be killing it all the time, and to recognize that there are pockets that are going to be harder, and there's pockets that are going to be easier, and sometimes you're going to be killing it and sometimes you're not, and to be okay with that. Because for me, like, this is so much more than Success Club points. Like, this is a really important, valuable aspect to my life. And I've had so many ups and downs with cross-country moves and trying to get settled. And this is a very valuable piece for me. And so I think it's important to remember that if we have a down month or a down couple months, it doesn't mean we're down and out. We should just toss in the towel and want to quit. To just know that sometimes there are lows, and sometimes there are super highs, and sometimes there's stuff in the middle. But that quote of flowers don't bloom all year round I remember that all the time. And when my mind starts to go that negative route, I'm like, okay, it's okay. Like, I know things are going to be getting better. And to be honest, and Bethany really touched on it, like, just doing something each day towards that goal is what really, really, really matters. And I really, truly, honestly believe that every day there's going to be ups and downs. I'm looking for my up when my kids go to school.
Absolutely. Well, and I always, whenever I'm talking to potential coaches, I think the number one question I get is like, will I have enough time? And I tell people the same thing every time. This business, what I love about this business, and I love 50 million things about Beachbody, is that it is absolutely what you make it. If you have 5 minutes a day to give, you give 5 minutes. When you can give 2 hours a day, you give 2 hours. And it's going to it's going to show based on the time you are able to put into it, but no one's going to slap you on the wrist and be like, oh my gosh, like you only gave 10 minutes. What's going on in your life? Like, it is absolutely your business, and there aren't any quotas. There's nothing like that you have to hit. When you need to take a break and you're planning a wedding or you're moving cross country or you're doing any of these things, like you have that power. And so, yes, sorry, I won't go off on a tangent, but
Absolutely right. It's absolutely right.
Erin, do you have it all together all the time? Like, has this always come naturally? Are the boys always perfect? Like, how has your coaching kind of transformed like your schedule and things like that?
In this last year, I have gotten my life a little bit more together, but controlled chaos is probably a good way to describe my life with these kids and commuting and working. I will say one thing that really helped me out this year was starting my business activity tracker and just being able to check things off. And I do not always get everything checked off every single day, but it at least keeps me focused and on track. And if I miss something one day, I can try to pick it up the next day. But that, I would say, is like my biggest thing that has really helped push me this year. And I've seen a lot of personal growth and business growth by staying on track and having that focus and that, I say, push. I like to check things off. I'm a little type A, so to check everything off my list helps me out. So that's definitely helped over the last 8 months.
Absolutely. Well, that's all the questions I had for everybody, but I think I just wanted to kind of touch on a couple commonalities. All three of these ladies that we had on tonight are lifetime diamonds. And you have heard all of them say that they give an hour to 2 hours a day, potentially. Hi, boys. An hour to 2 hours. They're not working 10 hours on Beachbody every day. They don't have, 24/7. They're not working Beachbody full time. They are all giving what they have in their pockets of time. But what they are all telling you is that when they have those pockets of time, they're working smarter, not harder, and working structured time. They're working from a list. They are working on them before anything else. And that is what keeps them in the game. That's what keeps them growing. So I just wanted to open it up. Charlene had a question, I think, for you, Erin. She asked, do you use the Beachbody tracker in the back office, or did you make your own?
Sorry, I keep muting myself in between because of the boys. I think one was posted maybe in Be Brave or Live Fierce, and I just took it and made it my own. So, I have my workout, my Shakeology, my personal development on there, making new connections, what I want to post for the day, how many times I want to post, and I try to plan that stuff out. I try to schedule them in Facebook, and then I try to go in and post them before they schedule for all of the social media reasons. But it just helps me stay on track. So I just took one of the things in the file section on the Facebook pages and kind of recreated it for me.
Awesome. Are there any other questions? You can unmute yourself if anybody has any other questions for the ladies, for me, for anybody. Anything? No? Okay, well, if there aren't any questions, Charlene typed in the chat, I overanalyze everything and get overwhelmed with the content I share. I know for me, I plan all my content out as well. Each morning, I have a checklist and I have my posts that are going to be posted that day. I write what time they're going to be posted, what they're going to be, even if I don't necessarily know, but I know I want an engagement post that day. I pre-plan all my posts the day of. So that morning, that's part of my power hours. I sit down and I know I'm going to plan my workout, do a post about my workout. I know I'm going to post a meal for the day because I'm just kind of known for that, like posting a recipe. And then my other 2 posts kind of vary. You know, I follow that in the Coach Vitals push thing that Jess had created with the post ideas every day. I kind of follow that just to get my brain working. You know, a coach breadcrumb here, a engagement post here. If we have a happy hour coming, you know, my posts are more centered towards that same, you know, type of things. But I plan mine out every single morning. Any other questions from anybody? Maria said, for those that pre-plan, do you use Facebook schedule posts for all of your posts? I find that I plan more authentic on the spot. So I know Erin uses the scheduled ones to help kind of when she knows things are going to get crazy and she won't necessarily have access to it. I don't use the scheduler, and that's just because even when I was working full time, I had the flexibility that I could get on my phone real quick while I was with a client or in between clients to be able to post. Like I said, when I pre-plan, it's more the idea of sometimes I don't know necessarily what my engagement post is going to be, and then something happens throughout the day that kind of sparks an idea. Or same with like a lifestyle post. I won't necessarily know what that's going to be, but then I'll take Tatum for a walk and she does something funny that I know everybody will love, and I'll shoot a picture of it. So like things like that. Like I know that I'm going to post like 4 times a day. I'm anal and I make list after list after list. So I know I'm going to post 4 times. I know what my first 2 are, and I know the topic of my second 2, and then they may just kind of vary, but I come up with the content normally throughout the day when I feel inspired.
So I just wanted to pop on too. I don't schedule or I don't pre-plan my posts because I'm the same way. I like to kind of feel inspired in the moment, but I do schedule all of my call to actions because call to actions, in my opinion, should be very strategic when you do it. There are certain days of the week that are best. There are certain times of the day. And so I schedule all of those out to make sure that I am always publicly inviting. So clean eating group, happy hours, challenge groups, things like that. That way, like I start the week and those are all scheduled for the week. They're going out at prime times, and I go through and I kind of hide and delete the ones that have, posted. So when you go to my page, it's not like call to action, call to action, call to action, call to action. But scheduling those to make sure that there's no such thing as not having time to do a call to action. Like they're already done. Even some breadcrumbs can be scheduled, but call to actions to me, scheduling those out to make sure those are already done. And then I can interlace like my own content based on like what my life is doing, based on how that's going. Cause I have a hard time scheduling stuff. I mean, today I've been sick all day. If I would have scheduled some like really cheery post and then the next one was that I'm not feeling good, it would have been very, not real. I mean, especially if someone's like looking at my Instagram stories and seeing that I'm not feeling good and then seeing me on Facebook, like something totally different. But call to actions, in my opinion, can always be scheduled, and then you have no excuse not to do them.
That's a good point. And one thing I told one of my coaches recently, because she was having issues coming up with content or remembering to post throughout the day, was I told her to go through and schedule things like that weren't personal, like recipes and, motivational quotes, every once in a while, things like that she can sit down and plan ahead of time, like the call to actions that don't necessarily need an authentic feel to them, to make sure that at the end of the day, if she only posts 2 times and one was her workout and the other one was that at least she was posting. So that's something to think about as well.
I want to just add that I just recently started scheduling my posts, and they're usually about 1 per day. And it's something that could be totally different. Like last week we had an impromptu game night, and those that follow my page know that my husband's never home. So the fact that he was home when we were playing a game was kind of really different. But I scheduled it out really trying to speak to my avatar, which is my biggest weakness, is I can present all day long. That used to be my job. But getting it from here to my fingers, especially on a phone, it doesn't work as well, and I can't reach who I want to reach. So spending time crafting those posts, my engagement in the last week has gone like way high. because I think I'm following, being more thoughtful and purposeful in at least one post a day, so that I'm really honing in and speaking to that avatar. And today it was just my sweaty selfie, but I had my laptop in my picture, and it was like I could talk about working out anywhere, and that is generic. That didn't sort of matter. I always do my workout every day, and those I can work with. But I'm having a hard time living in the moment and like doing it the next day. So I'm in between, but I'm finding being able to use a scheduler is going to be life-saving for me, especially when I know who I want to talk to.
And that brings up a good point. And this has been a long time that Danielle Natoni did this National Wake Up Call. I want to say it's been like 2 years. But she talked about, and this isn't just her, but brain dumping. And so if you have Sunday, an hour to sit down and maybe try to come up with a plan for the week, brain dump, sit there for 10 minutes and you just start writing anything that comes to your mind. Also, doing the thing that everybody talks about, it was on the call this weekend with Jen Richardson, listing the 10 things about you. And so then if you have a list of 10 things, you're a boy mom you love, and I'm just DIY queen like Jen Richardson was, all of those things, you can even come up with prepared content. I will do that sometimes and have those in my notes. So if it is 4:00 on a Wednesday and I have not posted for a little bit and I'm like, what the heck am I going to post? I go to that list and I'm like, ooh, I can post, something about this, or I can look up a fun DIY project that I would like to do. And, things about me that are towards my avatar. And I just kind of brain dump if I have time. Every once in a while, I'll just sit down and do that and just come up with they aren't necessarily content, but they're ideas that are going to spark something in my brain to be able to come up with content. So that's also some way that you can kind of prepare for the week. Any other questions before we hop off? All right, guys.